Have you ever felt trapped by the opinions of others? Like your happiness depends on whether people approve of you or not? What if I told you that true freedom comes from letting go of that need for validation? Today I'm reviewing The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga, a book that completely changed the way I see myself and my relationships. And trust me, if you've ever struggled with self-doubt or people-pleasing, this book is for you. At its heart, The Courage to be Disliked is about personal freedom. It's based on the teachings of Alfred Adler, a psychologist who believed that happiness isn't something we find in others. It's something we create within ourselves. This book teaches us that we don't need permission to be who we are. We don't need to be liked by everyone, and in fact, trying to be liked by everyone is the fastest way to lose ourselves. One of the most eye-opening lessons from the book is this: the moment you stop living for other people's approval, you start living for yourself. And that is where true happiness begins. But breaking free from the need for validation isn't easy. We live in a world where social media constantly reminds us of other people's opinions. It's so easy to get caught up in the cycle of posting, waiting for likes, and measuring our worth based on how others react. We think, if people like this, then I must be doing something right. But the truth is, seeking approval from others only makes us dependent on external validation, rather than cultivating genuine confidence from within. Have you ever found yourself posting every day on Instagram or Facebook stories and then constantly checking how many people have seen it? How many people liked it? Are you posting just to impress others or to make your life seem more beautiful than it really is? If so, you might be seeking validation without even realizing it. This book challenges us to ask a powerful question. Am I living for myself, or am I living for the approval of others? The beauty of The Courage to be Disliked is that it gives us permission to let go of that need. It reminds us that our value doesn't come from how many people approve of us, but from how authentically we live. The moment we embrace this, we start to experience a level of freedom we never thought possible. Why is this message so important? Because most of us are conditioned from childhood to seek approval. We're taught that being liked means being successful, and being disliked means failure. But here's the truth. No matter how good you are, no matter how kind you are, someone out there will still not like you. And that's okay. Imagine this. You could be the most generous, loving, selfless person in the world, and yet there will still be people who criticize you. So why waste energy trying to win everyone over? Why sacrifice your own identity just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be? One of the biggest reasons people struggle with the fear of being disliked is the deep-rooted belief that external validation equals self-worth. From an early age, we learn that praise means we are doing something right, and criticism means we are failing. This creates a dangerous cycle where we start basing our choices on what will get the best reaction from others, instead of what truly makes us happy. Breaking free from this mindset requires us to redefine success, not as being accepted by everyone, but as being true to ourselves. Another key reason this book is so important is that it teaches us to take responsibility for our own happiness. Too often we believe that our emotions are controlled by how others treat us. If someone dislikes us, we feel rejected. If someone praises us, we feel valued. But The Courage to be Disliked reminds us that no one else has the power to dictate our emotions. We do. Learning to control how we react to criticism and judgment is one of the most empowering things we can do. Finally, understanding why it's okay to be disliked allows us to build stronger, more authentic relationships. When we stop trying to please everyone, we start attracting the right people into our lives, those who appreciate and respect us for who we are. We no longer waste time on shallow connections built on pretense. Instead, we surround ourselves with people who truly matter. Reading this book was a wake-up call for me. It reminded me that the only validation I need is my own. Once I accepted that, I felt lighter, freer, and more in control of my own life. The principles in this book help us in profound ways, from building confidence to improving relationships and making peace with ourselves. One major way this book helps is by eliminating the fear of rejection. Many of us hesitate to take action, whether it's pursuing our dreams, speaking our minds, or setting boundaries, because we fear how others will react. But when we understand that being disliked is a natural part of life, that fear loses its power. We stop tailoring our actions to fit what others want and start focusing on what truly fulfills us. Another way it helps is by teaching us that we are not responsible for how others feel about us. This is a tough lesson, but a liberating one. Too often we modify our behavior in hopes of making others happy. But the truth is, no matter what we do, we cannot control how people perceive us. Their opinions are shaped by their own experiences, biases, and expectations. Once we embrace this, we stop exhausting ourselves trying to manage other people's feelings. This book also helps us shift our focus from external approval to internal fulfillment. Instead of asking, "Will people like this?" we start asking, "Does this align with who I truly am?" That shift allows us to make decisions with clarity and confidence, rather than being swayed by outside influences. When we stop living for applause and start living for authenticity, we gain a sense of peace that no amount of approval can provide. Another powerful takeaway is the idea that true confidence comes from action, not approval. Many of us wait for validation before we take a step forward. We think, "I'll feel confident once people recognize my worth." But the reality is, confidence is built by doing. By stepping outside our comfort zones, facing challenges head-on, and proving to ourselves that we are capable. The more we act despite fear, the stronger our confidence becomes. Lastly, this book helps us embrace solitude in a healthy way. When we are no longer afraid of being disliked, we stop fearing being alone. We begin to see solitude not as loneliness, but as an opportunity to connect with ourselves, reflect on our values, and strengthen our independence. Learning to be comfortable in our own company is one of the most empowering gifts we can give ourselves. One of the most powerful messages from this book is that you must love yourself first. Many of us think that if we can just make people happy, if we can just gain their approval, then we'll feel good about ourselves. But it doesn't work that way. True self-worth doesn't come from others, it comes from within. Loving yourself means recognizing that you are enough just as you are. It's about embracing your strengths and accepting your flaws without the need for constant external reassurance. When we seek love and validation from others before giving it to ourselves, we put our happiness in someone else's hands. This book teaches us that the only approval we truly need is our own. Another key lesson is that self-love requires boundaries. Many of us struggle with saying no because we fear disappointing others. But setting boundaries is an essential act of self-respect. When you value yourself, you understand that your time, energy, and emotions are just as important as anyone else's. This book helps us see that protecting our peace is not selfish, it's necessary. Self-love also allows us to forgive ourselves. We often carry guilt and regret over past mistakes, believing they define us. But the courage to be disliked reminds us that we are not bound by our past. Every moment is a chance to choose growth, to be kind to ourselves, and to move forward without shame. Learning to forgive ourselves is just as important as learning to forgive others. Lastly, loving yourself means living in alignment with your values, not societal expectations. Many of us feel pressure to meet unrealistic standards, whether in our careers, relationships, or appearance. But when you truly love yourself, you no longer feel the need to conform. Instead, you prioritize what genuinely makes you happy, even if it goes against what others expect. If there's one lesson to take away from the courage to be disliked, it's that true freedom comes from within. We spend so much of our lives trying to fit in, please others, and gain approval, only to realize that no amount of external validation can ever give us lasting happiness. The book teaches us that once we stop seeking approval, we gain the ability to live authentically and embrace who we really are. Another important realization is that it's okay to be disliked. No matter what we do, there will always be people who disagree with us or don't see our worth. Instead of fearing judgment, we should focus on living a life that aligns with our own values and beliefs. By letting go of the need to be liked by everyone, we create space for meaningful relationships with those who truly appreciate us. This book also reminds us that happiness is a choice. Too often we believe that happiness is something we must chase, something that depends on external circumstances. But in reality, happiness is found in how we choose to interpret and respond to the world around us. When we take responsibility for our own emotions, we gain the power to shape our own reality. Additionally, the courage to be disliked challenges us to shift our mindset from competition to contribution. Instead of constantly measuring ourselves against others, we should focus on how we can add value to the world in our own unique way. Whether it's through our work, our relationships, or simply being kind, our purpose is not to outshine others, but to live meaningfully. Ultimately, this book is an invitation to reclaim our personal freedom. It encourages us to let go of the past, stop fearing the opinions of others, and start living for ourselves. The moment we embrace this mindset, we open the door to a more peaceful, fulfilling, and authentic life, one where we are no longer controlled by the need for validation, but empowered by our own self-acceptance. As we close this discussion, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful question. What kind of life do you truly want to live? A life dictated by the expectations of others, or one where you define your own success and happiness? The answer to that question determines whether you remain trapped by approval-seeking or break free into a life of genuine fulfillment. Growth starts the moment we stop waiting for permission to be ourselves. If you've ever hesitated to pursue your dreams, speak your truth, or set boundaries because you fear judgment, let this be your sign to step forward. Every great change begins with a single decision to prioritize yourself without guilt or hesitation. The beauty of embracing this mindset is that it doesn't happen overnight, and that's okay. Like any journey, there will be moments of doubt and discomfort, but each step forward makes you stronger. With time, you'll notice a shift, less concern about what others think and more focus on what truly brings you joy and purpose. Most importantly, this book teaches us that we are enough as we are. We don't need external validation to prove our worth. We don't need to be perfect to be valuable. True confidence comes from within, and the more we trust ourselves, the more we attract the right opportunities and people into our lives. So if you take anything from this book, let it be this. You are free to be yourself. You are worthy of love and respect just as you are, and you have the power to create a life that reflects your true self, unapologetically, courageously, and without fear of being disliked. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this book review. I truly hope these insights have helped you reflect on your own journey towards self-acceptance and personal freedom. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to take that first step toward living authentically today. If you've read The Courage to be Disliked, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your biggest takeaway? How has it changed your perspective on happiness and self-worth? Feel free to share your insights in the comments. I'd love to start a conversation with you all. Lastly, if you found this review helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Let's continue spreading the mindset of self-empowerment and courage together. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.